Happy Sunday. Yes, honey, we are the following weekend after the 4th of July. And hey, sister.
Hey, sis.
Hey, love.
Hello.
Happy. Hey, sweetie, how are you? Looking gorgeous.
Yeah, this is my lovely friend Imani Bilal. She is an artist.
Nice to meet you
And
guys.
yes.
Forgive me, I'm putting on some press ons, girl, while I'm on my way to my show. So
Nice, nice. Yeah,
but it's a
Yeah.
pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
nice.
You hear me good? Can you hear us okay?
You're kind of in and out. What'd you say? Yeah, I can hear you chop. I can tell that you're on the road. Uh-huh.
Yes. Yeah, we will be at a location in probably about 10 more minutes.
Okay, cool. Hey,
Yeah.
Leonica, thank you for coming in. Yeah, so how's it going? I see y'all out and about on this lovely Sunday. Okay, so you said y'all in the ham.
So, but we're here for an art fair.
Okay,
So, like Janae said, we're here. Um, I've been creating art for about 9 years, 6 years professionally,
okay.
and we're here for an art fair. And Janae,
Mm-hmm.
so we're told, hopefully you get a great job and you make some money, right? But there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, and I have always, just within my spirit, I haven't always been the type that. So I kind of took a different path, a more unorthodox path.
Yeah, your video's kind of choppy. I think that's going to kind of help with our topic today. Um, so we're gonna go ahead and like dive into our topic for today, and we are going to talk about: are you surviving or are you thriving? So, in case you don't know, it is really a big difference. It's really a big difference on whether you are thriving or just surviving. Yeah. So we're gonna dive into it, and I'm excited that we got a special guest to join along the conversation. Maybe she can give us a little insight onto um, the difference between thriving and surviving. Also, so in case you were wondering, what is the difference if you're gonna survive versus you're gonna thrive? Like, it is a difference. It is a difference. So, it said like to surviving versus thriving. Like striving means to continue to live or exist in spite of like danger, whereas thriving means to grow, develop, and prosper. Most of us have times in our life when we have to pass through a period of survival in order to thrive. Yeah. Your phone is like definitely echoing too. So As you can see, my sister Janae God's life is in the building. She's actually on the road, and her phone is a little choppy. So we're gonna make her do what it do. And when she gets to a stable location, she'll be able to be a little bit more active into our discussion today. I'm excited for Sista Talk Sunday. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about, are you surviving or are you thriving? Yeah, because it's a big difference, and I just kind of broke it down a little bit, like how surviving means to like live, or just exist, like in spite of like danger and stuff. And if you're thriving, you're actually like growing, and prospering, so and we both of us do have times in our lives when we are like in survival mode. I can attest for that. There's been a lot of times that I've been going through life, and I'm just surviving out in the streets, like literally surviving, so it's definitely a big difference to whether you're surviving or whether you are actually thriving. Right. So, they asked the question, so like, is it thriving or is it just surviving? Right. So that's always been like the $1 million question for me, because, sometimes you think that you're actually thriving and then you're really like in survival mode. And sometimes survival mode could be okay because it helps you get through like different challenges and stuff, and overcome a lot of different things. But like survival in the simplest form is about staying alive, right? Meeting your basic needs, enduring challenges, and thriving, on the other hand, goes beyond more than just survival. Okay. So thriving is about living life to its fullest potential and experiencing growth, fulfillment, and happiness. Yes. Let me just say that again. When you are thriving, you're living life to its fullest potential and experiencing growth, fulfillment, and happiness. Yes, 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 yes. So, for me personally, I would rather be thriving than just be surviving, because then I feel like that I'm actually growing and accomplishing something, right? Which is a big difference, a big difference. We talked about it a little bit on our previous segments about you know me always chasing the big nickel, right? So for me, that's considered thriving. Hi, Mr. Mraz. Happy early birthday. Thank you. Next Sunday is the 20th. I know, right? We are July birthdays. Yes, mine is actually tomorrow. Mine is actually tomorrow, July 14th. I'm excited. Yes, and you're going to be the big 26. Oh my God. Ooh, I remember those days. Yes, 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 yes. Yes. But thank you for popping in. I appreciate you for being here. Yeah. So what we're going to talk about today is, are you surviving or are you thriving? Because it is actually a big difference in the two, right? So we're going to break it down a little bit about what the differences are. I was just talking about how, like, when you're in survival mode, it's basically just like staying alive, and just meeting your basic needs, right? And being able to like endure a lot of challenges. And I think I've been on both sides of that. I've been a lot in survival mode, and I've been a lot in thriving mode, because it's been a lot of stuff happening throughout my years that I can't believe that I survived through. I'm like, man, like them survival instincts are real. They are definitely real. And I have definitely survived a lot of challenges. But, the difference is, when you're thriving, it's about living life. So I'm always saying that I want to live life. I want to live my best life. I don't want to sit in like a box. I don't want to just let life pass me by. I always say that it's a huge world out there. Get out and experience it, right? So that's the way of like thriving. So living your life to this fulfillment, being happy, that's an example of thriving, right? So they had a question saying, is it better to survive or thrive? Is it better to thrive or survive? That's like $1 million question. That's $1 million question, right? But you consider like thriving, like being able to like regulate your emotions, so that you're in control. That's a good example of like thriving. And life will still happen. Like I always say, life happens, but you will be able to choose exactly how you react to when life is happening. Right. So that is like a huge example of like thriving, being able to maintain, go through life, not let things distract you, and you stay on top of your game, which I call it, right? And then if you're like living in survival mode, it's like you're not truly living, right? If you're just living in surviving mode. So like when you're thriving, you're like they consider you truly alive, because if you are just surviving out here, like you really are not living. Life is just passing you by. You're just going day to day, just going through the motions, you know. So it's like, is it better to thrive or is it better to just survive? I would honestly say that it's probably better to thrive, because your natural instincts does kick in when you are in survival mode. But when you're thriving, you're not letting your circumstances, you're not letting challenges stop you from living. You're living your life, you know. So you just decided that, I'm going to keep living. I'm going to keep doing things that's going to make me happy. I'm going to keep doing things that's going to fulfill me, right? So that is a good example of thriving, right? So another question was like, so what is the difference between the surviving and the thriving mindset? Whew. Wow. Like, what is the difference between thriving and surviving mindset? Wow, that is like such a great question, right? So what exactly is the difference? Hi, honey. Thank you for coming in. So, so if you're surviving, it's like a struggle. Like you're in a struggle. Like you're knuckling through life, right? Literally. Hello. Thank you for coming in. And you're surviving, like you were like in a struggle, like, and you just knuckling, like you out here in these streets, and you was just trying to make things do what it do, right? You know, like they always said that we had those natural survival instincts, though. Like, when I think about like survival, like I think about like the reality show that was like the survival show when they were in the jungle and like you're in there with nothing, like you're living in the woods, right? You don't have a meal, like for your food and nourishment you gotta like drink dirty money water, you gotta eat off the dirty trees, you gotta do, because you're surviving, you're in survival mode. But it just proves that you can survive. Like you could use anything around you and be survival mode. Like your whole goal is to make it through, right? So when they say like you in that white knuckle life, that is considered surviving, That's why I used to love watching that show, The Survivor, because they literally were like doing the best they could to make it to the end, right? So that's an example of like surviving, right? Like, and then like just barely trying to like get by, like you're using all your resources, you might have the bare minimum, but you're like, okay, I can make this do this, I can make that do that, that is like literally surviving. And I can honestly say, it's a lot of times I went through life and I'm like trying to survive, resources might not have been there. I talk about when being a mom, going through a divorce early on in my younger years, and trying to like raise kids, and it's definitely tough, like when you are by yourself and you don't have like that support system, and you like trying to figure it out and make things do what they do. And you got like these little people dependent on you, and they looking at you like for the strength. They looking at you for the guidance. They looking at you to where their next meal is coming from. And I know me as an adult, it's like, all right, I can't let these little people know that I'm in survival mode. Like, I don't have all the answers. Like, I don't have it all figured out. But I am taking it day by day, and I'm trying my best to keep everything afloat and not have them stressed or be affected by what is happening. And I don't want them to worry about where their next meal is coming from. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh my God, like, I am really like trying to survive here and trying to like keep things together. So yeah, when I say that survival is about getting by, it's definitely about getting by, right? But on the other hand, when I think about thriving, I think about like living, right? And thinking abundantly. So although I was in like survival mode a lot, I still thought about what it would look like to get to the other side, right? So still scraping my way, right? Clawing my way. It was like, this is not going to be my destiny, right? I'm going to literally find a way to get out of survival mode and be out on top, where I can look back and say how I got over. So thriving for me is another example of like coming out on. Hey,
Hey,
sister.
sorry about that. I've been trying to get back in,
Yeah,
but yeah,
you good? Y'all,
yeah. I
y'all,
want to show you where
y'all.
I am.
Oh, okay, another art thing. Okay, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So when you talk about, thriving, like, are you thriving or surviving? Um, it's like it's with artists, that's like a really big deal. You know what I'm saying? Because, you think of, it's like a lot of, like you say, you think about that thought of like starving artists. Greetings, how
Mhm,
are you? Good to
mhm,
meet you. Yes.
mhm. Yeah,
Like the whole idea of, like being a starving artist stuff, you know what I
right.
mean? But these are thriving artists.
Oh my God,
Um,
I know. I, I,
yeah.
I can see some of the artwork. Oh my God,
Yeah, this is
amazing,
one of Imani's pieces right here.
nice, amazing,
Yeah,
amazing, amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, yes. So that is a prime example of thriving. But it's like, and then it brings that question, like they say, like are you just thriving or are you surviving? So like I would love to like hear her thoughts on like what did she consider herself in survival mode before she was thriving, or did she feel like she was thriving and never in a survival mode? 'Cause-
Yeah, it was. I know, like, for her, it was some fear in the beginning. You know, what I mean,
Mhm,
even like, starting out with making jewelry and stuff. But having to switch that mindset. You know, what I'm
mhm.
saying, and and finding your own way of what success means to you.
Yeah,
You know, what
yeah,
I'm saying,
yeah.
because remember, because that's what I was saying, like how just having that fear of being a starving
Right.
artist, what I'm saying? But having to, switch that mindset into like, no, I'm gonna be a successful artist.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that is really like what I'm in the mix of right now, like a ton of really successful artists. And some of them, some of the artists, like we talked to a ton of them yesterday. So this was a weekend show.
Mhm.
And so when I talked with some of them yesterday, they talked about like how, like being afraid to like it's pieces in here that they're like $10,000 and up. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, and so some of the artists, like we'll talk about being afraid to, to price their art at such a high price. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Cause
mm,
so it's like, you have that fear, worried about, like, dang, I mean, if I pay, do a painting and I price it at, what I'm saying, $4,000 or $15,000, what I mean, afraid of who's gonna buy it, or is it good
mhm,
enough, what I mean, to even have it at a price like that, you know?
mhm, mhm, mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
yeah. But
mm,
yeah, but
mm.
but then you realize, for one, everybody isn't broke out here. You know what I'm
Right?
saying?
Facts.
Yeah. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? Everybody ain't
Facts.
broke,
Facts.
And, yeah, and it's like, what I'm saying, when you start thinking about like your worth and things and I
Yes.
mean, worth, and the time that it takes to put into yourself
Mhm,
stuff and
mhm, mhm,
yeah, what I mean, you start focusing on like, just thriving, like I said, instead of just surviving, making that transition,
mhm.
how to move from just surviving to thriving.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, I was just talking about literally about like what's the difference between a surviving and a thriving mindset, you know. So that's interesting that we're talking about like, you know, how don't be a starving artist but be a successful artist, right? So that's
Yeah,
that thriving mindset, right? not not just that
yeah,
surviving mindset, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yep. And then it's like even understanding like thriving versus surviving, right?
yeah,
So like when you are thriving, it's like you're engaging with life proactively, engaging through life, right? And like
yeah,
seeking like seeing the challenges, right? As opportunities for growth, right? And actively pursuing those things that give your life some meaning, right?
right.
So yeah, I feel like that you could touch a lot on that because like we've talked about it in previous segments about like giving up like you giving up your 9 to 5 and pursuing artistry like full time, right? So
Right.
like we literally just broke down that it's like thriving means like to like engage your life proactively, right? And
Yeah.
you're seeking out opportunities to grow,
Mhm.
right? So like what is like can you take us through the steps of like how you just got out of like survival mode and said I am going to thrive, I am not going to be a starving artist, I'm going to like continue to grow and have that mindset coming from a nine
But
to
it
five.
was more. It was kind of like it was about like how I wake up in the morning. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? It's like do you wake up feeling drained, or what I mean, or do you wake up, what I mean, feeling like, ready to start your day? You know what I mean? Like, even just, it's like just simple things, what I mean, that can, just switching the mindset. Because even when I didn't have a whole lot, what I mean, it's like I still just always thought about, like, like regardless of whatever, what I mean, like I said, it just seemed like more of a mindset, what I mean, to
mhm.
where it's like, no, I always said, like, like, I don't want to just be in survival mode. It's
Right,
like, no, like,
right,
yeah,
right.
like, no, like, I want to be in thriving mode, what I mean? So I just had to just switch my mindset,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
yeah, and so, like I said, it was like just breaking free from like a, like, poor mentality. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? And so
right,
it's like, like,
right.
I'm going to do what I love. I'm going to do what feels good for me. You know,
Mhm,
um,
mhm,
yeah, what I mean, and I'm saying it was really like that simple and that easy. What I mean, it was like, no, like, I'm going to, like I said, I'm just going to feel good about life and about living, and so that just
mm,
made me feel like I was thriving you
mm,
know
mm,
yeah,
mm.
and so it's like, once I was just, making that change, like I said, just with my mindset, it's like, no, like, I'm just going to be in thriving mode, like, I'm not just out here surviving, because then I felt like I was chasing, what I mean, I was
Okay.
feeling in survival mode, I felt more desperate, you know
Mm.
what I mean, like, hey Jordan, how are you, good to see you again. Imani is walking around here somewhere. I'm actually on a live with my sister right now.
Say what?
Yeah.
How are you?
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
So
I'm
Jordan is
ready.
a really amazing artist. I'm standing in front of a lot of his work right now. You can just take
Wow.
a good look at it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Amazing.
yeah, and I was Jordan is one of the people I was actually just talking with yesterday about, we was talking about, just being what I mean, as far as artistry and survival mode and
Mm-hmm.
things and stuff. And we was talking, me and Imani had a whole conversation, with him, and we talked about that. Just thriving and feeling like art is good enough, or all types of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just that whole idea of believing in yourself, believing in your work and everything. It's a mindset.
It is the
You know what I'm saying?
mindset.
Like you
Yes.
have to know that you're good enough.
Right.
You have to know, that there is someone that, that they're, what I mean, that people want what you have to offer.
Mm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and so it's like just getting away from fear. It's like that state of mind of like fear and stuff, like that's survival mode, fear and desperation and stuff. It just doesn't feel good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
To feel like that. So it's like switching your mindset into being like, like no, like I am good enough. I am perfect in my imperfections and what I have to offer. I mean, there's people, like people need what I have to offer. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? People need what I
Exactly.
have to offer. And so it's like that's how I think with my music, with my jewelry, what I mean, whatever it is that I'm presenting, it's like, I just be feeling like it wouldn't be coming to me. I wouldn't be having these ideas, like this, what I mean, if it like just for nothing. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And so it's like, believing in those thoughts, believing in those ideas, and just being like, okay, look, let me go ahead and put this on out here. I'm gonna show you this stuff here.
Mm.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like somebody thought to
Wow.
do this. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? He was like, you know
Wow.
what? He was like, look, this is what I want to do right now. And yes, and
Cool.
he's actually, is this you? This is your work here. Yes.
Beautiful.
And so
Beautiful.
then here's the artist and his
Beautiful.
amazing work. And so like I said, he thought of this. He came up with the idea, the concept, and said, "Look, I'm going to make this. I want to create this, and people are going to love it." You know what I'm saying? How are you doing here in the show?
It's a great show. I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, he said it's been a great show. He's glad he's came. So I'm actually doing a podcast with my sister, and we're talking about surviving. Like, are you surviving or are you thriving?
I'm in the second category. Yeah.
Yes.
Knock on the wood.
He said, yeah, he said he knocked on wood.
Being sad.
Yes.
I am doing something for 33 years.
Yes.
And I would hope that after such a long time and dedication that I would deserve to
Be thriving.
for the
Be, yes. You hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, he
Yes.
said he's been doing this 33 years.
Oh my
So he said
goodness.
after doing it for 33 years, he said he would hope that, he would be rewarded for all of his efforts.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah,
Right.
and look at this, you know what I'm saying? Like this
Beautiful.
is yes.
That is beautiful.
It is beautiful. You know what I'm saying? But
Oh
like you
my
say,
goodness.
you take, you know what I'm saying? It's like you gotta give what's coming out of you. You have to let it go ahead and come out.
Oh my
You know what I'm
goodness.
saying? And yes, and trust.
Oh my
You know what I
goodness.
mean? Know that what you're doing is going to make a difference. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it's like, but I don't, so like when we was talking about music earlier, and I was like, how I'm not worrying about trying to sound like anybody else or whatever. I was like, I'm just going to let what what is meant, what I mean, what I am, go ahead and come on out of me. You know what I'm saying? And and
Right.
just let it be. You know what I mean? Yep. And yeah. But I'm like, yeah, it's all kind of art just out here.
It is. It is. It is. It's
Mhm.
amazing. And when I look at this, as you're taking us through, I'm appreciate you taking us on this journey with you. You want to tell us a little bit about where you are right now?
Oh yeah, so I'm in Hampton. I'm in the Hamptons. It's a Southampton art show, art fair, and yeah. Like I was saying, my friend Imani, has some of her art. Um, she's exhibiting her art,
Mm-hmm.
and So the Hamptons, what's that? Hampton, New York. Let me see. I'm going to find a. Yes. Here we go. Um,
Hampton Art Collection. Okay.
yes, in
Mm-hmm.
the art show.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the Hampton Fine Art Fair is
Nice.
where I
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Mhm. Yeah,
Nice.
and I done lost Imani, but I'll catch up with her. But I just want to show you something. So I've heard this artist makes so much money off of his art, right?
Mm.
He only
Mm.
paints bunnies. He only paints bunnies.
What?
He only paints bunnies. But look at
Wow.
this right here, right? Do you see this right here? $7,000.
Wow. Wow.
Seven hundred fifty
Wow.
thousand dollars.
Wow.
You understand? I'll be like, look, whatever it is that you have inside of you,
Yes.
like just go ahead and let it out. Like, don't be afraid to be yourself and do your thing. Stop
Mm.
playing. What is this question? Seven $1,200.
Wow.
Just say
Wow.
it.
Wow. Wow.
Don't be afraid to be yourself. I'll be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes. That's what I'm saying. These are yeah, he only does bunnies.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm always so intrigued to see the different type of art because it takes a different kind of mindset, like you said, to bring out to have a vision or see something in your mind and think of it and say, I want to bring it outward, show the world what's going on in my head. That's pretty much what it is. Like when you see like art, somebody was thinking of this. They had this idea and they decided to create like a sculpture or they decided to put it on canvas, but they wanted the world to see what was going on in their mind, what they considered like beautiful, what they consider right,
Exactly.
right, and
Yeah, this is like white canvas with some paint and some pennies.
what?
I'm telling you,
Wow.
this is like
Wow.
look, the canvas got torn up. They tore up the canvas. It's like paint and pennies.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know how much that is, but it's probably $7,000 to $10,000.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, it always for me it makes me like want to pick someone's brain and say, what were you thinking when you created that? What was going through your mind? What was the vision
Yeah.
behind it? What was the inspiration behind it? Right? I, I, uh-huh. Wow! Wow! Yes!
Artistic.
Yes! Yes!
Yeah.
Yes! That's exciting that you actually get to see the artist.
Um,
That you get to see the
Amazing.
artist that created and
Yes.
that showed their vision.
hmm
That's amazing.
Don't it make you want to do
Okay,
art?
okay. Listen, it definitely makes me want to like erase that fear of saying that I'm not good enough, that I can't do it. Because I'll be the first to tell
Exactly.
you that I am not an artist.
Exactly. I'm saying,
Like
but Tamika, but I'm just saying, like, all right, so now that I'm away from him, I'm gonna go ahead and speak and say what I want to
okay.
say. I mean, like, it's like it literally just looked like he just tore up some canvases, poured some paint, you know what I'm saying, and then put it up for sale.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's like, what I mean? There's some really, really, really amazing art here. And then there's some like really like not so amazing art.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, you know what I mean? But I'm not saying that all live on the broadcast, but yes, I am. I'm gonna go ahead and say,
Listen, this
but
is an
it's some
open
really
forum.
great art here.
Uh-huh.
It's some really great art, and then there's some really like, stuff where it seemed like somebody was like, all right, I'm gonna just splash some paint around. You know
Wow.
what I mean? But they
Wow.
doing their thing, you know what I mean? And but but I'm gonna say, but it's like, but you could look at that. When I look at it, looks like it like maybe it looked like anger
Mm,
and frustration,
mm.
but that's just like to me, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But somebody might see that and be like, I feel this. I can
Hmm.
relate. I be mad as shit and I be trying to, you know what I mean, create and do certain things or whatever and stuff and want that piece and spend that $10,000 on it.
Child. Child. Hello, hello,
You know what
welcome
I'm
in. I
saying?
appreciate y'all for being here. We are talking about, are you surviving or thriving? And this conversation and topic is so perfect because right now Janae is in the Hamptons at an art show, right? And it
Yeah.
takes a lot, like, for artists to put their visions to light. It definitely does. And it definitely, like, shows their mindset, their where they're thinking, like where their vision was, Because I feel like between like surviving and thriving, like um, don't be a starving artist. Like Janae talks about all the time, like she refuses to be a starving artist, right? And when you think about artists, you think about different realms come under artists, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
where she is, and she's showing people putting things in their head and putting it on canvas or making a sculpture of it. But it's a different titles that come under artist, right? And um I never consider myself like a a canvas artist or one that could do sculpture, but I can appreciate a beautiful piece of art, right? I consider myself um an artist in ways where I love to like dance and express myself, right? So that part I feel more like comfortable with, right? I just never um had the opportunity to like pursue it like full time, like my vision was, I would say. Growing up, I had this vision, like I always talk about it. So if you can follow along and you've gotten to know a little bit about me, you know that my hero was always the great Debbie Allen. Debbie Allen, everybody know it. Like, if you don't know who my inspiration was to dance and want to be this famous choreographer, which I always talked about, where you see my name and like you couldn't tell me growing up that I was not gonna be his favorite choreographer. Always putting dances together, like putting moves together and making them do what they do. Right. So Janae can tell you that. But yeah, but that was my little contribution to like artistry, right? But I've always appreciated when people can actually put it like on canvas and they can like use their hands to express their thoughts and feelings, right? And like you were saying, like it definitely takes a mindset. It's definitely a mindset, right? It's like you're like living
Uh-huh.
life proactively, right? And you're looking for opportunities to grow, right? And you're like pursuing things that give your life meaning, right? So um think about surviving, like it's kind of like the opposite, right? It's like you're 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 in reactive mode, right? And you're surviving. You're in reactive mode.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're trying to manage stress, right? And it's taken away from your joy and fulfillment, right? And before you came back in, I was just talking about when like I was in survival mode a lot. Like being a young mom and trying to um keep things going, it definitely takes away from joy and fulfillment because you're surviving, literally. So you don't have time to really enjoy things, enjoy life, because you're thinking about tomorrow or what tomorrow's going to look like. How you want to get through the next day. How you going to get through next week, right? So it definitely creates a lot of stress.
That's the way to think.
Very much so. Very much so. Very stressful, very
Yeah.
stressful, and that's the example of being in survival mode, right? In survival mode when you're like always stressed and you like you say like and that's real talk. Like Well, he will literally be in survival mode. Like when you're like, okay, where am I going to get money for this, or how am I going to pay this next bill, or where am I going to get my next meal from? Oh, that's
Yeah,
like survival. Oh, that's considered survival mode.
yeah.
So
And that's the thing. It's like, and sometimes, it's like you don't even feel like it's something that you can help. You know what I mean? Like you say, like that survival mode, it's like you feel like when your basic needs aren't being met, you know
right,
what I mean? Like you said, food, shelter, security,
yes,
then it's like, yeah, you definitely in, yeah. It's
yes,
like, I mean, you're just trying to survive, you know what I mean? Survival mode, just trying to, and I like that looking at, like the differences, what I mean, like I said, like of, surviving versus thriving.
yes, yes,
You know what I'm saying? And
yes.
and then it's like talked about all of that already. All right. Yeah, and then it's like the important thing though is like how to make that, like you said, how to make that
Mm-hmm.
transition, from surviving into thriving.
Right,
You know.
right, 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 right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So we actually going to go break it down a little bit about like how to like um thrive instead of just survive, right? So, but they
Right.
actually have like a quote regarding thriving versus surviving, right? It's actually a quote attached to this, right? So, like um like when you're like busy living life because life is too short to be just surviving, not thriving. So those who live in a state of survival, just watching their lives pass them by, do not understand the power of living each day to the fullest. So an investment in yourself will never
Right.
lead to regret.
Mm.
An
Yeah.
investment in yourself will never lead to regret. Wow, love that. Woo! Wow,
Wow.
wow, 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 wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So pretty much they're saying that like those that live in a state of survival are just watching their lives pass them by.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a like, what I mean, and like, no, I'm sorry, I can remember being around.
Hmm. It is. It is. It is. Right. Hmm. Right. Right. Hmm.
Need are being met, then it's like, what I mean, like I said,
Hmm. Hmm. I know. Right.
I'm saying.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's why I didn't get one of these little bags. Oh, I'm sorry. They got these little bags that say like, Hampton Art Fair and all this stuff and everything. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm about to go right back up to the front. But yeah, like you said, like that aspiration and stuff, you know what I mean? And um but that's what I was saying, like, you know what I mean? It's like, like I said, when you look at the difference, it's like, all right, like how are you waking up in the morning? Are you waking up and it's like you dreading each
Yeah.
day? You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, the person that I knew that was saying that, oh, yeah, I'm in survival mode, like they was saying like that they wake up angry every
Mm.
day. And it's like I'm a don't not never. I'm
Wake up
I'm not,
angry.
you know what I
Oh
mean? It's
goodness.
like, you know what I'm saying? I wake up and it's like I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I woke up this morning. I'm like, that's how, you shouldn't be waking up in the morning and you
What? Oh,
mad.
come
You know what I'm
on.
saying? You know what I mean? Or like you mad that you're still in the same situation. You mad that your situation hasn't changed, or you know what I'm saying? You mad that like you still gotta wake up happy. You still gotta wake up
Yes.
thankful that you have the
Yes.
opportunity. You know what I'm saying? To try again another
Absolutely.
day. You can up with the opportunity, you know what I'm saying, to do something different.
Absolutely. 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 Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, got your heart still
Hmm.
beating, you got all your
Yes.
limbs, and
Yes.
yeah, it's like I feel like it's like when I think about, like, for me, like I feel like it's easy to
Hmm.
thrive. Yeah. It's easy to be in a mind state of
Hmm.
thriving,
Yeah. Yeah.
and but like I said, I know that success looks different for
Yeah.
everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I get
Yeah.
that too. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, like I think rich. Like I refuse to think, what I mean, like poor mentality, or like I'm gonna never be like, oh, I'm broke or anything, because I understand the importance of
Yes.
words
Yes.
and the vibration of words and
Yes.
stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
yeah,
Hmm.
you know what I mean. Like you know what I'm saying. And so it's like that question, am I vibing? I'm like, what, honey? I'm thriving. I'm
Child.
thriving. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be thriving in the world.
Yes. Yes.
And feeling good. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm thriving, because I
Right.
feel good. I'm thriving because I'm gonna be at peace. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And things that that are disturbing my
Hmm.
peace, I'm gonna walk away
Right.
from.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like that's why I'm thriving, you know what I mean? Not because, what I mean? It's like it doesn't matter about the amount of money I
Hmm.
have.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In order for me to
Hmm.
thrive, or you know what I mean, feel like I'm thriving or surviving,
Right. Right.
it's
Right.
like
Right.
I don't know, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I'm how I be about my affirmations, you know what I mean? I be out here, my affirmations is like I have everything I need.
Okay.
I
Okay.
have everything I need to succeed.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Everything I need is already
Hmm.
inside. You know what I mean? Like I sing
Hmm.
that. Everything I need, everything I need. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because and I tell myself these things. Everything I need is already inside
Hmm.
of me. So it's like I'm automatically thriving.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like, that survival, like I said, like survival mode. It's a mode. It's like, and you can shift out of that,
Yes.
shift gears,
Yes.
shift gears,
Yes.
people.
Yes. Yes,
Shift gears.
yes, yes, yes. You definitely can shift gears, because I've even been
Yeah.
thank you everybody for being here for our Sister Talk Sunday. We are talking about, are you surviving or are you thriving? Right? So we appreciate you for being here for our Sister Talk Sunday. Right? So I've actually started like using the information myself when I get up in the morning, and I'll just start looking in the mirror, and I'll say, we are blessed and highly favored. You know,
Yes.
I appreciate the love, the abundance. I appreciate for seeing another day to get it right. You know,
Yes.
so like I found myself saying that, and it definitely puts me in a different mindset. Like, it puts me in like a happier space. It's like no matter what's going on around me, that could be like totally stressing me out or stressing out the situation, is like I walk through the day carrying like a spirit of peace, of joy, because I'm like, I think about all the things that are going right. I think about like, I was able to wake up and see another day, right? And I speak in that, like, I'm excited because I'll be another year around the sun tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. So it is the day before my birthday. Yes. So, so I'm excited to do another year around the sun, which is happening
Yes.
tomorrow. So yeah, so definitely thankful for that. Definitely thankful for that. That I'm here, and I'm looking forward to just embracing another day around the sun. Yes, yeah, sure. So so it is to be.
Into age, does she look
You
all
do.
real?
Oh my God, that is the piece of art.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
She looks real. She looks wet.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
Look real.
It does look real. Look like somebody sitting on there posing, like, okay. We should listen to a seashell. Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Wow. 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 Yeah. That is a pure example of thriving. Like say, I'm gonna make it do what it does. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. That is so exciting. That is so, yeah.
Mhm.
But it were like you were saying, like it's easy to like shift from that, right? So like we're constantly talking about like the the mindset. Like, are you in a thriving mindset or are you in survival mindset? So it's saying like, like it's ways to thrive instead of just survive, right? So
Yeah.
like focus on like cultivating a growth mindset, like we were talking about, like prioritizing like your self-care, like building your strong relationships,
Mhm.
practicing gratitude, right? And we were just talking about
Right.
like doing your affirmations and stuff, and being resilient, right? So like when you're cultivating like a growth mindset, it's like you're embracing your challenges, right? Like you
Yeah.
view the obstacles as opportunities for learning and growth, right? Rather than a setback. So that's an example of thriving, right?
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. Opportunities for learning and growth. Don't look at it as a setback. Like sometimes
Exactly.
you could get stuck in that mode. Did you just freeze up? Yeah, you can get stuck in that mode that something happens and then you're like, man, like now what? Now what am I going to do? Right? How am I going to get myself out of this? Just being stuck in that mode instead of looking at it as a setback, looking at it as an opportunity. Like, okay, I can get through this. I can learn
Yes.
and go through this, right? Instead of getting
Exactly.
stuck.
Exactly. And that's important. I mean, like you say, like I always say like that there's a blessing in every lesson. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
And I mean that's
absolutely.
how you gotta look at those things, like and not having regrets, I mean, how sometimes like, things happen and they say we get really be like aching about it and be like, or really mad at ourselves and stuff, what I mean, or looking at what didn't go right,
Mm-hmm.
but looking at what went wrong instead of looking at what went right, what I mean, or
Absolutely.
how it helped us, or what we can learn from it. Yeah.
Absolutely. 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 Yep. So example of being able to thrive instead of survive, look at it as not a setback and just a learning lesson, something
Yeah.
that you can get through, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, learn new things, right? Seek out
Uh-huh.
Pick out new knowledge and skills to expand your horizons, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pick out new knowledge and skills, right? So
Uh-huh.
that's another way, right? To
Yeah.
establish like a growth mindset, right?
Uh-huh.
And it says like challenge them limiting beliefs, right? So start questioning that negative self-talk, right? And replace it with positive affirmations.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Those positive affirmations, they help so much. They help
Yes.
so much. You
Yes.
know.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Take
Yes.
away that.
Saying,
Take away that
I
self.
mean, like how, like you were saying, like when you get up in the morning, you go look in the mirror, you know what I'm saying, and you speak life to yourself,
Yes.
stuff, you know what I mean? It's like even if you had to like even like writing these things down, like and putting it, right on your mirror so you can help you remember to do it. You know what I mean? Saying, like I am great, I am wonderful. You know what I mean? I'm
Mm.
happy that I woke up this morning. You know what I mean? Simple
Mm.
things that can make
Yes.
a huge difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
it's like,
Yes.
just being thankful for life, you know what I mean? It's like that is just such a huge, thing right there. Just being thankful, like you said, just thankful that you woke up. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's such a small thing, being like taking that breath, being
Yes.
thankful that, that there is breath in you.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right. Right. Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. Replace that negative self talk and replace it with some positive positive.
yeah,
Get rid of that negative self talk. Right. Right. That's
yeah,
how you can cultivate a growth mindset. Yes. Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Like you heard it
Tanika.
here.
So hi. I just
Hi.
wanted to say hi again and introduce you to this is another amazing artist and
Love.
photographer. His name is
Hi.
Matthew. Yes, and
Nice.
he's out of Manhattan. Yeah, this is my
Wow.
sister and we're live. Oh, terrific. Yes. Oh, you're live. Yes, we're live on YouTube
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
talking about are you thriving or are you surviving right
Yes,
now?
we're talking about are you thriving or are you surviving? Thriving. Thriving. Working on it.
Okay.
Yes.
Ha-
Yes. Shaved my beard off today. Yes, you did. Yeah, you was looking
Do I look
different.
different?
Yes. Yes,
Awesome.
but
Love
yes,
it.
it's about thriving. You
Yes.
know.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Yes. So
Thank
it's so
you.
inspirational to see the artist, because it takes a thriving mindset, to share your visions with the world, and not just
Yes,
keep their bottle inside. Like you had something to offer. You had something that people want to see,
that's
So
right.
that is amazing. That is
Yes,
amazing. Yes, yes, yes. Love it, love it, love it. And it's talk about like prioritizing like your self-care, right? Is a way to like thrive and not just survive, right? Like
absolutely.
so yes, yes, yes. That's so important. That's so important. Um, like make sure you're getting like enough sleep and you're eating and you're like exercising, like all that can play on your like physical health. Hello, hello. Thank you for coming in, Evans Amandi, for our Sister Talk Sunday. Yeah. And it said like focus on like your mental, your emotional well being, right? Like
Uh-huh.
about to practice the mindfulness, right? Doing the meditation, other
Exactly.
relaxation techniques, right?
Yes.
That that is a way to thrive and not just be in survival mode, right? Yes, love that.
Hmm.
And I think I really can appreciate this one. Set boundaries.
Yes.
Set
Yes.
boundaries.
Like and learning how to say no.
Learning to say no to protect your
Yes.
time and energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Mm.
indeed. You know what I mean? That's what I said. Like, like for me, like thriving, what I mean, is about being in my peace. And so sometimes for me to be in my peace, what I mean, it's like I have to, like you said, what I mean, I gotta have them boundaries. And when people are pushing my boundaries,
Mm.
it's like, knowing how to let go of
Yeah.
stuff, including people, what I'm saying, what I mean, that are not, what I mean, yeah, I gotta maintain my peace, and it's like if you like, and being a piece that nothing or no one can shatter. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is thriving for me. You know what I mean? Because if you shattering my piece, you know what I'm saying? Then yeah, then it's like now you putting me at, like, now I'm not in a good space. You know what I mean? And it's like peace of mind over everything. You hear me? I'm gonna say that all the time. Peace of mind over everything. You know
Snap
what I'm
on
saying?
that.
Yeah, because it's like I can't have things making me go crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because you know what I mean? Because like mental health stuff runs in our family, and I'm like I can't be letting things make me go crazy. The next,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm
Mm,
like,
mm.
well, because I will flip out.
Okay.
If I flip out, it's from my own, or from me. You know what I'm saying? Flipping out on my own, but I can't be letting other people cause me to flip out.
That part. That part.
Yeah,
That part. Girl.
yeah,
Girl. Yeah. Them setting boundaries has definitely been at the forefront of my life. The forefront
yeah,
of my life. Like, and people probably around me probably can't understand it. Like, I have shifted my mindset. Like, if it's not bringing me peace, I don't need it. Right. So
yes,
I have put so many different people and things out of my life because it's not bringing me peace. Right. If I
right,
found myself struggling or stressed out about it, I was like, I can't. I've
yeah,
created like this bubble around myself. Right. And I'm happy in my bubble. And
yes.
probably don't understand. They probably like, God, Sean Correll, because you were disturbing my peace. It was things that you were doing that weren't sitting well with me. And it was shifting something inside me. It was messing with my mind, my psyche. I had to let it go.
That's right. That's right. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's like you can't sacrifice your own self, you know what I'm saying, for someone
Child,
else. You
child,
know, you can't
child.
sacrifice your own self. Like that's not generosity.
That's
You know what I
not.
mean? I remember Oprah Winfrey used to talk about that all the time. She'd be like, it's, like how we want to be generous and we want to help people and stuff like that sometimes. But she like, but when it's to your own sacrifice, you're sacrificing your own self and your
Mhm,
well being, that's not
mhm,
generosity. You know what I'm
mm,
saying?
mhm,
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm,
Like you have to fill your own cup first. And then as your cup runneth
mhm.
over, then you can help other people and stuff, you know what I mean? But yeah. You know what I mean? Sometimes and I've said that before too, you know what I mean? Trying to help somebody else fill their cup. You realize that their cup got a crack in it, their cup got a hole in it. You know what I'm saying? And
Child.
you sacrificing your cup, you know what I'm saying, filling your cup because you're trying to help somebody else and things. And it's like, no, like they need to be working on trying to fill their own cup too. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you gotta make sure that you take care of your own well being and all of that stuff, and take care of yourself. You know what I mean? Like it's so important.
Child, woo, girl, you better preach up your head. I was like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a captain save a hoe. like literally,
yeah,
like you said, pouring so much to fill somebody's cup, and their cup got a crack in it, right? And then like
right,
you're depleted because you've been pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring. Taking from your
right.
own cup to fill theirs up. You know, that's not
Yeah,
thriving. That's not thriving. That's actually stressing you out. It's actually
right.
stressing you out. Oh my
Yes,
God.
yeah. Like you said, that is not generosity.
No, no.
Yeah.
Take it from yourself. Like the whole end game is for you to thrive, right? Not
Yes.
not not just be out here surviving. Because a lot of time people get in that, like you said, a survival mindset that they are like just gonna make it do what they do. They're just gonna take each day as it comes. They're gonna sit there and be on this woe is me type of mentality, right? So
Yeah.
no. Set them boundaries. Set them boundaries. It's a good way to thrive. And another one that I can appreciate too is they say like connecting with people. Like when you're building them strong relationships, like nurture meaningful relationships with like your
Yes.
friends and families and like even your colleagues, right? Is a way of like helping you thrive, right?
Yes.
Being able to connect with others, not just shutting it down. Like I know I talk about me like being like in a bubble, but I have a private bubble, I would say. Like only certain people are allowed in my bubble.
Yeah.
Only certain people are allowed in my bubble. So if you're
Yeah.
not those certain people, then you're outside the bubble looking in. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, and you got to be worthy. You got to, you know what I'm saying? You got to know that the people that are coming into your bubble are worthy of being inside your bubble. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Just like how you're not just letting everybody into your house. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You're not going to let somebody come in your house that's destructive. You know what I
Yes.
mean? You're not going to let somebody
Yes.
come in your house that that's going to be in there tearing up stuff. You know what I mean?
Uh,
You know what I
mhm.
mean? Leaving jelly on your table, and you know what I mean? All kind of things. You just nah. It's like, no, you can't. Sorry. I'm gonna need you to. Like, that's a privilege. It's a
Yes.
privilege. You know what I mean? And an honor to be in your space.
Hmm.
And you know what I mean? And if they cannot, they can't respect your space. You know what I mean? Then they don't need to be in it. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Because I'm like, what, you know what I mean? Like, me and we was just talking about that earlier, you know what I mean? Like how, she's talking about, like, it's like somebody, you start yelling or something like that. Like, it's like, it like, I'll shut down real quick. You know what I mean? It'd be like, what? Okay, like, we shutting down, we cutting this off. I'm getting away from
Right.
you, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because, what I mean?
Right.
Because, it's like, I don't want to match that energy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I can. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But it's like, I'm not even, it don't even be worth it. It
That
don't even
part.
be worth it. You
That
know what I'm
part.
saying?
That part.
So it's
Right.
like, I'll just remove myself, and now you no longer have access to me. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Because you've
Right.
shown me
Yes.
that you're not worthy of that access. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So,
Right. Right.
you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. 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 Like yeah. Yeah. It's easy to match energies. it's, it's easy.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it'd be like, don't get, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Like, yes, I try my best to not go crazy. You know what I'm saying?
girl. Girl.
But, because we can. You know what I'm saying? We can, like that's I be thinking, just like with my children and stuff like that, you know what I mean? It'd be like other situations where, I remember I used to think that, like, man, like, like somebody mess with my children. Now, what I'm saying, now I'm about to be like, I'm already getting in my head, like, okay, so let me just prepare myself for the handcuffs because I'm going to jail today. You know what I'm
That
saying?
part. That part.
Like,
That
all
part.
right, be like,
Yeah.
just let me go ahead and do what I need to do real quick before the cops get here because I'm gonna go crazy, you know. But it's like, what I mean? Like, I'd rather not be in those states.
In
You
the
know what I
stick.
mean? Like, I
Yes.
choose peace. I choose peace over and over and over again. And it's a choice. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I said, I put effort into it, effort into my kindness, effort into my joy, effort into my love and
Yes.
being loving.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's why I said, like, doing my affirmations,
Yes.
making, what I mean, constantly trying to, like I said, being around peaceful people and stuff, other, what I mean, wonderful, joyful folks and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, what I mean, and that are matching my energy and I'm matching their
Your energy.
energy in,
Right.
in those aspects, you
Right.
know?
Right. Right.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Right. Right. Yeah. 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 And that's very important. Like to protect your peace. Protect your peace because you're not going to thrive if you're not protecting your peace. Right. Um.
Mhm.
And they're saying and don't hesitate like to like reach out to people that you trust. Right.
Yes,
Hesitate to reach out to people that you trust, like for guidance and like to support you through your journey of thriving, right? And,
right.
and getting out of that survival mentality, right? And like we've been talking about it this whole time about like surrounding yourself with positivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Surrounding yourself with positivity, spending time with people who uplift and inspire you. Important,
Yes,
important, important. Let me say it one more
yes.
time. Spending time with people who uplift and inspire you. Okay, like when you're around
Mm-hmm.
negative people, it's keep creating that negative energy. It is pulling you down. It is pulling you down. Right? You're not thriving if you're always in a negative situation. If someone is not uplifting and they're not upholding your peace, that's not the situation that you want to be in. You can't thrive that way.
Exactly. You can't.
You
You
can't
you
thrive.
can't.
You can't
Yes.
thrive that way. It was
Mhm.
something I was just listening to recently about like how like your company, like when people, if you're constant around somebody negative, like they're always like in trouble, they're always speaking like negative thoughts or in negative situations, and you could be the eyeball out, but because you're in that same room with these people that's constantly doing something negative, that it tends to like stress you out, and then you might have came into the situation not angry, you might have been happy, but because they were talking about something bad or negative the whole time, it shifted your whole mindset. So all of a sudden you're upset, you're angry. Now you're thinking about something that happened bad to you that day, and you weren't thinking about it before, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like that's crazy.
Mhm.
That's crazy. They said people can really shift your mindset just by being around their energy, whether it's
That's so
positive or
true.
negative, right?
Yeah.
They can really shift your energy. I'm like, that's
Mhm.
wild. That's wild, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
but
like, like I try not to be around people, like say like, folks that's always gossiping or, so like, what I mean? It's like, yeah, what I mean? Like they be like, I'm gonna just say it, toxic energy. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? It's like
yes,
I try to avoid that type of energy, you know. Um and because it's like, how they say, my dad used to always say birds of a feather flock together. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? So it's like, if you're around people like that, next thing you know, you're doing it too.
yes, yes,
You know
yes,
what I'm
yes,
saying?
yes,
And it's like,
yes,
you
yes,
screwing a bunch of negativity as well. You know what I mean?
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yes. Yep. 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 So I can say like always like focus on the positive, right? Make a conscious effort to appreciate the good things in your life. It's a great way to thrive. Appreciate the good things in your life. And then they talk about developing resilience.
Say that
Develop
again.
developing resilience, right? Not only like focus on the
Oh
positive, right? Like appreciate the good things that's going in your life, right? But
yeah.
like
Right.
develop resilience. Right. So like having the ability to bounce back, like from adversity,
Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
practicing that self compassion and not focusing on things as a setback, but like as a learning curve, right? A way to grow, right? We were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had to practice that too. Cause
Yeah.
because sometimes, cause it's like, I don't know. Sometimes it do, you be left with that like, why me type of feeling. Why did this have to happen? Or, you know what I mean? Um, yeah, you know what I mean? And so it's like, you be left with certain feelings and stuff. And, you know what I mean? You feel like, things that you have to learn to live with,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
stuff, you
Yes.
know what I mean? But yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, you know what I mean? I can remember, in my younger days, like you say, definitely having to learn to be more resilient.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah. They'd
mm.
be like, nah, come on, like we got it. We're gonna bounce back. It's okay. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because I mean, you know how like just like failing relationships can have you broken down. You know
Ah,
what I mean?
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
and stuff. But that's why how now I be like, what? Like, like I gotta keep my heart open. You know what I'm saying? Like love is always gonna find its way back in. You
Okay.
know. Yeah, I
Okay.
was talking to this lady yesterday, this elder, and she was talking about like kind of like being disappointed at one time that she felt like she was about to be on marriage number 4.
Wow. Wow.
But yeah, what I mean, and she was saying that about to be on marriage number 4, kind of thing and stuff. But she was saying how she had to learn that she was like, look, like I'm gonna keep on doing it until I get it right. She
Wow.
was like, I'm gonna just
Mm.
keep on doing it until I get it right. She said, look, if I get up to marriage number 7, then that's just what it'll be.
Okay.
I was like, I hear that. Shoot.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because, it's like you can't just give up. You know what I mean? You still alive. You
Right.
can't just
Right.
give up on it. Like you still here. Yeah, so it's
Right.
like keep on going, keep on trying. You know what I'm saying? Keep on bettering yourself, you know what I mean? But it's like do them self assessments, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, adjust your state of mind. You know what I mean? Work on becoming better and, being better in this world, you know what I mean? Being better for yourself so that you can, be better, with someone else. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, like we're not meant to be alone. Like we're social creatures, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And
Yes.
so it's like,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. And so she was talking about that. She was saying how, just writing things down and really working on her own self assessment. and thinking about, really like what she wants, what she doesn't want. But she said she's letting her children pick her mate this time and stuff.
What?
So she's dating. Yeah, she's dating again. She's like, she has a fiance, but she said she's going to give it 2 years before they be together, because she was like to just do like that full assessment, because she was like, because she doesn't want to make another mistake. You know what I'm saying?
Mm, mm,
Yep, yep.
mm.
So she was like, and she's like, she's letting her children are really involved and stuff. And I was like, wow, it had me like really thinking about, just, all that, I mean, like just with love and relationships, and how the way that we handle love and relationships, and the way we handle our own selves. But she said she is
Wow.
doing like a full self-assessment, what I'm saying, before she gets into, before she connects with another person. And I thought that
Wow.
was really beautiful.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Wow. That
Yeah,
man.
because she's trying to thrive.
I know
You know what I'm
that's right.
saying? And not
Priority.
just,
Five.
but yeah, because sometimes we just, we'll settle on something because we, feeling like we're desperate for love, or, what I mean? It's like, like I said, being desperate for love, or just needing somebody, or just wanting, what I mean? I remember one time my dad was like, that sometimes, he was like, women will be with, in terrible relationships because, what you say, like, half a man is better than no man at all. I
Uh,
was like, what?
what? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And it's funny, like how we talk about the differences between like the survivor and the thriving. And she just touched on a little bit about like the relationship aspect of it. Like I can honestly think of a lot of times where I was just like surviving, like in a relationship, just surviving, not happy, just going through the motions, just going through every day, like wishing that I was not in that situation, which is crazy. Like that's literally survival mode. That's literally survival mode. And like as I'm sitting here talking about it, I'm like, I put myself through so much like stress, just like thinking day to day that like something has to be different. Like, why am I going through this? Like, why, like, did I get myself in a situation? Right. And she just kind of like brought light to it how, sometimes we'll get ourselves in situations of being in a relationship, because it's like better than not being in a relationship. But if it's creating like a lot of stress for you and you're just like surviving the relationship, that's not healthy either. That's not healthy either because you're not thriving. You're just literally surviving. You're literally surviving that relationship. You're literally surviving that relationship. And I can say honestly that I've been in so many different surviving relationships that were not healthy. And, sometimes, you want to just be with someone, but even though it's not really like serving you any type of benefit, you're always miserable and you're like looking for something better and you're waiting for that out. You're waiting for something positive to happen. So like on our last segment, we were talking and how we touched a little bit about like relationships and stuff. And um our segment now is about like, are you like surviving or are you thriving? But I'm thinking about like how I was determined to thrive. Like in my current marriage, I was determined to thrive because of past situations, um being in survival mode over and over again. I got tired of being in survival mode, tired of a lot of negative things, tired of things that just were not serving any purpose in my life and was like literally making me miserable and having like a lot of regrets. And when you're thriving, you don't have any regrets, okay, about your decisions. So, like I've talked about, you know, getting into a new marriage, but determined to make it thrive by getting rid of a lot of the old negative things, by getting rid of things that were not serving me, that things that were holding me back and things that were hindering me, like all those multiple times prior and stuff. So like, so for me that looked like um going like doing like counseling and stuff, like ways to like help get rid of a lot of the negative things that were um definitely challenging for me back when I was enduring it. I was like, I don't want to go through that anymore. I don't want to go through those situations. I want to be able to say that, I got over that hump and I didn't fall back into that same trap. I didn't fall back into that negative bubble. I didn't fall back into that survival mode. I didn't have any regrets. Like, I'm not going each day like wishing and wondering like what the other side will look like and thinking about how I would get out of it and stuff. So I definitely can say I did a lot of thriving when it came to like the relationship that I am in now as opposed to relationships that I was in the past. And it's definitely a difference because you definitely can be in survival mode. And having that resilience definitely helps to help you thrive and continue to grow, right? Just having that mindset, right? And just learning like from the setbacks and like living in the present, right? So like when you live in present in the moment, right? You're not dwelling on the past and not worrying about your future. So that taught me a lot just by going through like the therapy, the counseling, like the marriage counseling. Like it definitely took me out of that living in the past mode. It definitely took me out of that living on in the past mode because I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to thrive and grow if I'm still holding on to negative stuff. If I'm still holding on to things that like haunted me or kept me from growing, that kept me from thriving, that kept me just surviving every day. Like it's survival mode. It's like I'm not going to grow like that. So like I can definitely say that when you're thriving, like you're letting go of a lot of stuff in the past, especially things that were not serving you any purpose, definitely things that were like negative, definitely things that were not helping you grow and was shifting your growth mindset, right? And you don't want to be like focusing on what your future's going to look like, right? So if it's not something like positive and it's not something you seen that's going to help you grow, that's going to like help you learn, and that's going to like help expand your horizons, it's like let it go. Like just you don't want to be in survival mode. Like you want to continue to thrive. You want to continue to thrive. So that means like if you gotta let go of some stuff in the past, let it go. Stop worrying about what your future's gonna look like. Like live in the moment. Live to all the opportunities that are afforded to you now. Live to what you survived through. Live through how you already learning and growing. Right? If you have that mindset, it's definitely shifts things in you. And it took me a long time to get that mindset because I will always like I would remember in the past and have like these woe is me's, like why, right? But just shifting it, right? Just like, okay, I'm not surviving no more. I'm not in survival mode. I am thriving. I'm learning. These are not setbacks. These are stepping stones, right? I'm just going to keep walking until I get to where I need to go and not live into where I'm stuck. So, we've been talking about it this whole segment about, just shifting your mindset, between thriving or surviving, right? And like you want to celebrate it. You definitely want to celebrate your progress, right? Like so acknowledge and appreciate your achievements, like no matter how small they are. Acknowledge the little things. The little things make a difference. Little things create bigger things and bigger opportunities. But once you have that mindset that I'm appreciate the small things, like just waking up in the morning is a way to show appreciation, and celebrate. Listen, I'm here. I'm able to see another day. I'm gonna make this a good day. I'm gonna thrive today, right? Like I was talking about, like my affirmations where, now I'm getting up and I'll say, we are blessed. We are highly favored. We got another opportunity to see a new day. So just those little small things, right, is a win. Right? Because some people didn't wake up this morning. Some people didn't have that time to see another day or their chance to see another day. So that's a small win. That's a way to appreciate, right, and celebrate. right? So it's like, so you can like really move beyond like simply just surviving, and start beginning to thrive, right? Like and experience like a really, really like more fulfilling and like meaningful life. It's just all about like shifting your mindset, right? So it's like once you recognize that you are like in survival mode, you can change it. You can change it. You can just stop worrying about, I'm just focusing on my coping mechanisms or something like that. You just change that state of mind and say that I'm blessed and highly favored. Like I have abundance. Like I'm afforded a meal. I'm able to eat today. Right. I have a roof over my head. Just think about like the small moments. Right. Just take that survival mode out of you. Right. And just even thinking about like the self-care aspect of it. Right. Just like do something physical. Sometimes physical activities take your mind off of like the negative stuff, right? It takes your mind off of things that like could be stressing you out, or things that you've been like worrying about, or you like, I'm just like surviving. I don't know how I'm gonna live for the next day or something like that. Do something physical. That can definitely like change your own frame of mind too, right? And that's more like a healthy way to like manage the stress. I know for me, like I love like walking around like in nature, like taking away like nature, just beauty, just like listen to the birds chirp, or walking where like this water, just listen to the waves crashing and stuff. That's a good way to like shift your mindset, right? It takes you away from like what's stressing you out. It takes you away from like negative thoughts, and it helps you focus on what's good happening to you right now. Like what did you overcome? Like um something was going wrong and now it's okay, so like for me, like I had to really like take those small wins and just say, okay, all right, maybe my day started off crazy. I might have walked out and had a flat tire, but I was able to get it resolved quickly, got it done, and still was able to go through my day. I didn't dwell on what happened or the negativity that might have started earlier or something. That's like a way that you say, I'm thriving. I got through that. I got through that. Okay. Like I was going through traffic. It was a big backup. Okay. And, I was worried about getting to work late, but chances are, even though I was in that bad traffic and, all this stuff was happening on my way to work, I still got to work on time. That's a win. I'm thriving. Okay. It's like I'm not focusing on the negative. I'm not focusing on what happened, not focusing on what could have been, because it all ended up turning in my favor at the end. Right. So that's just by me shifting that mindset and saying, okay, you know what? It's everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, and it does. And it does. It's like I look at things now. If I'm like, for instance, like I said, I was talking about stuck in traffic. If things are slowing me down, or things are getting in the way, or stopping me from getting where I'm supposed to be at that particular time, I look at it as a blessing, because I said something must be going on. It could be a situation that I probably could have got caught up in. Something might have happened that I might have been a part of, and this is keeping me from it. It is keeping me from it. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I always say I'm blessed, and this is why I've created that mindset where I say I'm blessed and highly favored. No matter what's happening, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. So that's a great way to like shift your mindset from just like being in survival mode to say, I'm thriving. No matter what the situation is, I am thriving. I am growing. I am growing, right? So just being grateful for the situations, right? And having like positivity no matter what. Seeing something positive in every situation, because it could be worse. It could actually be worse, especially if you come out on the other side of a situation that you didn't think you were going to come out of. That's thriving. That's thriving. Whether you think so or not, that's thriving. Sometimes the worst situation can end up being a good situation. It can turn into a better situation. I feel like if you've gotten through something, if you've gotten through a struggle, that you probably didn't see no way out in that moment, and you can sit back and you can talk about it. You can look at it and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I went through that." Like I have a lot of those moments where I'm like, "I can't believe I got through that." Wow. I'm like, look at that. Look at that. You know, I came out on the other side. So that for me is an example of thriving. I'm not living back to what just happened. I'm looking to how I got through it. You know, how I got through that challenge is no longer a setback in my life. It's just something that helped me step over and keep going, right? Keep moving, right? But yeah, so like my bottom line to like, are you surviving or thriving? You know, it's a way to shift through that. It's a way to shift through that because at the end of the day, we all want to thrive. We do not want to be in survival mode. So just embrace the changes and the growth, right? Like be open to like adapting, right? Learn to adapt to different things and situations, right? You know, instead of having that, well, it's me, just say, okay, it's a blessing in everything. There's a blessing in everything, right? Right? And focus on what you can control, right? Because everything is not in our control, right? But focus on what you can control, right? So, you know, and just try to take action to make like positive changes to things that you can control, you know, instead of focusing on the stuff that you can't control. And right. And I can't stress enough, celebrate the small things, celebrate the small wins, celebrate the small wins, right? And just set good intentions for your future. Just say, I will. Like visualize yourself thriving. Visualize it. Like I can see this happening. I can see this coming to fruition. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? When you start visualizing it, right, it definitely will shift your mindset, right? Out of survival mode to thriving mode. That like this is gonna happen for me. I can see it happen. I can visualize it, you know, that I'm gonna come out on the other side, right? So make it a reality and you will be fine. You will do great. You will not be in survival mode anymore. So that is a great way to shift your mindset. But that has been our topic today. Are you surviving or are you thriving? And I hope that you were able to get a little takeaway from our discussion and our topic today. It's really nice to see the artistry, like how people just took their knowledge and took what they were blessed with, took their gifts and say, I want to share it with the world. You know, I'm not going to just sit and inside of myself and had these dreams and not make them come to light. You know, not going to bring that vision to light, right? So, you know, that's a strong example of thriving. So my sister Janae God's Life, like I said, she was at the art show where we have a lot of amazing artists that were sharing their talents and they made it on the other side and they didn't sit there with them wolves and me's and say that I'm not talented or I don't have these gifts. They showed it to the world and a lot of stuff is amazing. So if you were just coming in and you kind of missed the walkthrough, some of the amazing art, just go back and watch the live and you'll see some of the beauty that is out there. And it's all because someone had that thriving mentality, that thriving mindset, you know. But I totally appreciate you for being here for Sista Talk Sunday today. You could have been anywhere in these YouTube streets, you know, and you're here and it's all love, it's all love, it's all love. If you are loving the positive vibes, I hope that you will come back and check us out for the next Sista Talk Sunday. You know, because I always say you never know what we're going to talk about. You never know what we're going to talk about on any given Sunday. You know, but I want you to do something good for you. If you've not done anything for yourself, please do something for you. Love on you. Love on you. And have a great rest of your day and have an amazing week. So I will be going live probably at some point this week because tomorrow is my day around the sun. I should say my new day around the sun. So I may go live, but if not, I will check you out on the next Sista Talk Sunday. All right. But everybody have a great day. And I will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.